going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner.
Man, I'm confident in our offense. That's for sure.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube, and also rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. We continue raising money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. We donate a portion of what we make over to them. So make sure to share this show with your friends as we continue to contribute to such a great cause. Also, we have a new giveaway out there for all the fans and all the podcast listeners too. You can join with this. So what you can do is when you rate the show 5 stars on Apple Podcast, you will be in the running for a Darnell Wright jersey. When we get to 58 5-star ratings out on Apple Podcast, we will do a drawing live on the show, and your name might be chosen. Just put a way that I can contact you if you end up winning. So you could put your Twitter, just probably no emails and definitely not any phone numbers out there. Also, if you're out there on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. We are hoping to get 4,000 because every subscriber we get is one more passing yard that Justin Fields gets. I don't make up the rules. That's just how it is. But first, PayPal, how are you, my friend? That was one long intro.
Hey, great job, Brad. That was awesome. You must have been practicing beforehand. I just
Not
didn't
at
see,
all.
but yeah, hey, that was great. But I'm doing good, Brad. Just a public service announcement of make sure when you go to the movie theater, you go to the right, like the spot there's to see the movie, because that happened this weekend, where I wanted to see Oppenheimer. We talked about it a couple shows ago, seeing Barbie or Oppenheimer or whatever. And I finally got to see, I was like, I'm going to do it. It's 3 hours. I'm just going to do it. And I went into the wrong, I was supposed to go to like the 9 section, and I went to 7. So the movie, I like walked in and like the movie was basically halfway done, and I didn't realize it. I thought it was like the beginning of it. And I was like, oh wow, they're already, going deep into this movie. And then, because I already showed up a little bit late, so I was like, I didn't think much of it. And then the movie ended like so abruptly, and I had no idea what was going on. So that was a bummer. But Brad, I mean, you're in a festive little mood. You got
like it?
The green lights. I like the green lights. The shirt's cool too. It's
I went
you
full
have like a
dad.
pina colada like right now too.
I didn't have any pina coladas, but I went full dad mode. We went to brunch. I was wearing this awesome floral shirt. Good vibes because preseason is in 6 days. But PayPal, we had like my family and I, we went to the county fair. We did all sorts of fun stuff. But I wanted to bring this up on the show because this is something that pisses me off beyond belief. And it probably pisses off a lot of other people. The tips. Like, people asking for tips has gotten out of hand. Like, just as a whole.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, people are asking you for tips. This has nothing to do with the Bears, but I just want to say it's getting outrageous. I had to create our own little segment. PayPal and also just everyone else. What is the most outrageous spot that someone has asked you for a tip? Because if you don't have anything off the top of your head, I have something that sucks.
Yeah, I don't have anything too. I mean, it's just like there's just times when it's like you just bought something from like a store. It's like you just buy like, I don't know, like a necklace or something. You buy it and then they ask for a tip.
And it's like did nothing.
Like, wait, why would I tip you? Like, but yeah, I guess there's probably people that do. I mean, I don't know if any of the listeners do, like, actually will tip if something simple like that happens, but I don't.
Well, yeah, now I've become like skeptical and like almost critical where like we went to a pizza place and it was one of those where you sit yourself, you order at the bar, then you get your pizza, you bring it to your table, and then they ask for a tip. And I was kind of like, I did nothing. I didn't jot down a tip. And my wife was so mad. And I was like, okay, yes, it was probably a bad thing to do because it's technically a restaurant. But I'm like, name the waitress. And my wife like couldn't do it. It's like, well, they didn't do anything, but it gets you thinking like, what do you tip for? And the outrageous thing was when we got our tuxes for the wedding, it was, they asked for a tip. and it was like 200 something bucks. And the girl is sitting there with the thing. And so I tipped like 20% because it said, like, do you want to tip 20, 22,
Oh, yeah,
or
yeah.
25, which is also outrageous in itself. So
Wow,
when you tip 20% on a $200 rental, like,
dang.
Jesus Christ, like 40
Yeah,
bucks right there. Like, just outrageous. But this
it's
is a
getting out
Bears
of
show.
hand.
Yeah, that's right. I'm curious to see what people have seen out there. It's just some of the crazy tip stuff. But let's get into some actual Bears talk. That's what people tune in for this. So let's get into this. There was Family Fest today. Yannick Ngakoue is now number 91 officially. Dominic Robinson gave it up. So now Dominic Robinson's 90, which looks a little bit better on him. What did they give up? Yeah, I know that some people were like trying to joke about thousands. I don't know. I feel like it should be nothing or just like
No,
couple $100 or something. That's what I usually
I
hear is like it's a couple hundred, nothing too crazy.
my good friend Tom Thayer, the surf master they call him now, Tom Thayer. I think he said it really well because obviously he played in the NFL. It's like if you are a veteran, like coming in and you kind of have that, like he's consistently done it. He's what 28 or something now, 29,
Yeah.
and he's always had 91. So it just makes sense. It's like, okay, you give the veteran 91.
Yeah.
Has Dominic Robinson made a name for himself? Not at all. So it's like as simple as that. Like he hasn't established 91. He hasn't established his name like for this team yet. So just give it up. If he does play kind of hardball, I feel like that's kind of a really bad move because you don't want to ruffle feathers in the locker room for just a jersey number and like it means something to I bet Dominic Robinson can just easily switch it. Like he hasn't
Yeah.
established a number
And
yet.
that's where I'm thinking like probably nothing. I've heard I think John Yurkovich gave his number to Reggie White and got like a Rolex watch. Yeah, for this, I just feel like it's nothing. Right? Like
Yeah.
not much. Like you got 1.5 sacks in the monsoon, and that was about it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but that was the big thing. Family Fest was today, but really today, what we're doing is we are going to be breaking down just what has gone on in the past 2 weeks because we can talk more about the ups and downs. Like we said, this is preseason week. So on Thursday, we'll be going live and talking about the preseason. If you haven't joined us for preseason coverage, you want to make sure to subscribe and follow because I think that we do some of the best preseason coverage where we talk about who you need to see and how you can enjoy a preseason game the entire time.
Well,
Because, yeah,
yeah. Honestly, the best thing about I think it just proved because we were even talking about preseason before this. We were like how many days is it? Like we were getting so excited before this show because we're like, oh my gosh, preseason's almost here. Like
yeah,
it's kind of jokingly, but honestly, it's true. Like it's
it is.
one of my favorite parts like of the season because you just get like you fall in love with these random players that you probably will only hear once, but it's like like Ryan Knoll and like DeMarquise Gates or Jack Sanborn. That's when we kind of saw him last year, like kind of shine, and it's like you just get to see all this, all these random guys and random names kind of start up and all the rookies.
Yeah, no, I agree with you out there. Like, I can't wait. I can't wait. We normally post something on Instagram, but let's get started with the actual stock up, stock down with just the training camp for the past 2 weeks. What has been going on? Who's been impressing? Who hasn't been impressing? And, we do have to talk about the downs because, yeah, we want to be a show of good vibes, obviously, with this Hawaiian shirt, but we got to also talk about get realistic with some of this stuff and just kind of talk about it. So let's get things started with talking about the good. So PayPal, who's kind of a stock up person for you? Like number one, first person that
I gotta
comes to
say,
mind.
obviously, first person is Justin Fields, obviously, and
Okay.
it's kind of what we expected, I guess. Like you kind of expect him to be stock up, but it kind of just proved what we thought. He, he's talked about 4,000 yards, passing yards, and it's one of those things. Like we kind of believe in it now. Like I heard he's probably one of the he's been voted the most for MVP or people are betting
Yeah.
the most into him for winning the MVP this year. He just looks so great. Like, you just hear all the positive things. Like, you can tell that he worked his butt off this offseason with all the negatives he had last year, and just
Yeah.
decision making, how quick getting the ball out, all of that, like, hopeful, and just all that decision making. Because I mean, heck, he's got all the physical traits that you want in a quarterback. He's fast, strong arm, just he's got accurate throws. It was just kind of that decision making, and it seems like he's got it. So that's my first one. And
Okay.
man, I could talk. Yeah, it's great.
No, I agree with you. And I think, too, the big thing, because I know a lot of people say, well, it's just practice, it's just training camp, right? And I think that Justin Fields, the good is that he is throwing shorter dump offs, like we talked about, like the easier passes, not just looking for the huge play. Now, the thing that we will be realistic here, and we will talk about it, like that he's not, like, it's amazing that he's progressing and he's doing great and he's doing that, but he still does need to speed up his processing while he's going through his reads. He's still going through it. He's still doing all that, and he's looking significantly more accurate. So he's definitely taking a step up. There's still some room for improvement. He's not a perfect prospect, but it's still great to hear that QB1 is progressing, and he will be better than he was last year at throwing the football. So I kind of want to go into just so my stock up. I wanted to talk about this person, but also kind of be not a Debbie Downer on it, right? I'm gonna bump him up, but then also put him down a little bit. Chase Claypool is getting all the, he is the king of camp. Everybody is hyping up Chase Claypool, and they should, right? Chase Claypool has looked very good and surprised a lot of people, myself included, with just his consistency, how Justin Fields is throwing it to him. He's getting open and he's making good catches. Now he is dropping a handful of catches as well. And it's not like he's looking like DJ Moore, which could be another person that is whose stock is up. Chase Claypool's stock is up. He has made it to every practice, and he has been a full participant after being on the PUP list. And we got to give him his flowers. He's looked good, but like right before coming on, I saw like a thumbnail that was like, he's on like just this over the top, like Chase Claypool's the greatest thing in the world. And he looks good. And it's like, just don't get it twisted. I think I was listening to Herb Lawrence and he's talking about it. He's not 100% sold on Chase Claypool with the things, like he looks good, but he has like a Chase Claypool meter on where he's at, and he's not like 100%. Claypool's been good. He's been great. He's been looking solid out there. But yeah, like, so stock up. Like, just stock up overall for Chase Claypool. But yeah, he's not DJ Moore. That's just what I want to say.
Exactly. And honestly, compared to what we were kind of thinking of him before training camp, it was like there's so many red flags with Chase Claypool, and then now it's like those are also like all erased after seeing how he's performing in training camp. I want to see DJ Moore. It's kind of like, I mean, it's kind of what we expected. I mean, that's kind of I don't want to talk too much on him, but my real one is Velus Jones. I think he's a stock up in my book.
Okay.
And it's not really in the passing game. It's more like, it sounds like he is going to be our returner. It sounds like he's catching the ball great, like he's confident. It sounds like our special teams coach is kind of saying he's thinking about the next thing. He's not thinking about catching the ball. He's not thinking about, oh, like, how am I going to catch it? He's thinking about, where the gunner is. He's thinking about, what's next? Like, where do I go? Rather than trying to just catch the darn ball. So that's my little stock up. It's kind of offense. It's more special teams, but Velus Jones, like, stock up for him. Like, I didn't know if he was going to make this team this year, just because of, like, all right, like, Dante Pettis returned the ball, like, punt return, pretty great last year. So it was like, can we get a faster guy like Velus at that spot? And he proved it. And so stock up for me.
Yeah, and I know I said, I think like on the last training camp episode where I was kind of talking about Velus was, he wasn't doing as well like the last week, but to the point, he's been playing like a wide receiver. I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. Like he's at least shown that he's not just a playmaker. Also, Squeegee asks, I don't have an iPhone. Is there another way to enter the giveaway for the Darnell Wright jersey? I'm trying to think because I think you might be able to sign up for an Apple account. I'll think about that though. I'll come up with something and I'll post something out there next episode because maybe we could do like a Spotify 5 stars as well, and then you just send in a little screenshot. Because yeah, you don't need Spotify for that, at least I believe. But yeah, good question. Yeah, Philip saying Claypool stays healthy, should have 800 to 1,000 receiving yards, and then I know Patrick's got a question out there too for us as well. But I'm trying to think of stock up too from the offensive side. I'm looking through like the ones that I've done in the past. But yeah, DJ Moore's an easy one. I mean, it could just be DJ Moore. I'll do one that I'll do a stock up. Robert Tonyan. I don't think I actually added Tonyan as a slide, but Robert Tonyan I'm actually going to put a stock up for. He's actually impressed a lot. He's impressed a lot of reporters with just his poise. He's impressed just catching the ball, just being a solid contributor to the team. Honestly, just as a backup tight end, you don't expect a lot, but even when I was at camp watching him, he kind of popped. Like he looked good. And I think that's what you want to see out of a backup tight end, just somebody that is a good locker room guy, can do all sorts of other pieces too. So I'm going to give it to Robert Tonyan. But do you have any more? Otherwise, we can.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard with the starting offensive line. I don't think there's really like a guy that's like, oh my gosh, he's jumping out of camp type of thing. Honestly, Doug Kramer, I've heard good things from Doug Kramer.
Good one,
so like he's kind of like a stock up in my book of I see his name. I'm like, dang, it's one of those guys. It's like, dang, we still have Doug Kramer. Like, is he really doing anything? And it's like, apparently he's impressing at camp. And so stock up for him. And good thing because our offensive line, the interior line is kind of questionable. So good thing he's kind of showing out.
Yeah, man, that's a perfect segue to stock down. Because here's the thing too. Stock down is just more of like kind of disappointments, not like this person's bad or terrible or anything like that, but just things that have been disappointing. And yeah, there hasn't been any more disappointing storyline than the depth at the interior offensive line spot. Cody Whitehair's been here and there. Lucas Patrick got injured today. Nate Davis has not been anywhere. Nate Davis has probably been the most disappointing because he's just not been there. And then you talk about Tevin Jenkins has been banged up as well. And it just doesn't sound good. And I heard too, I know that there's people out there that hype up Alex Leatherwood. From what I'm hearing, from what I've seen, Alex Leatherwood is still a human turnstile, even at left guard. Like I heard some people talking the other day saying, switch him over to the left, put him at guard. This guy's going to be great. He hasn't looked good. And so I want to see with everybody out there, I want Leatherwood to prove me wrong because there is something about the third year with offensive linemen. You can get it together. Yeah. This is a big year for him. So yes, practice is practice. And when you're going against some of these players, like, yeah, it can make you look silly. But yeah, I was not that nervous about the interior, but yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty. Eberflus says that they're not serious long-term injuries, but we know how they can be with these things.
Yeah, and honestly, it's definitely like stock down, especially like I hate to say it, but it's just like Tevin Jenkins. Like it's one of those things, like it reminds me of like a Kyle Long of like this huge guy. And then it's just like he kind of just gets injured and you're like, oh, he's got back issues. And it's like, how is that? Is that just going to be lingering? It seems like Tevin Jenkins might be more of a leg issue. But still, it's like, it's frustrating, Brad. But honestly, in the positive, and is there a reason why our interior offensive line is getting injured, not our tackles? Like, is it Jervon Dexter? Is it Zach Pickens?
Just
all these big guys just beating up on our guy. Like seriously, is it just like Andrew Billings? Are these guys just beating up?
I like the sound of that, man. I like it.
Are they beating up on our interior offensive linemen?
Yeah, like just beating them up and going Beast, yeah, that could be something. Also, too, just because I want to be a little positive on the line, every time I watched Braxton Jones, he impressed me. And anytime that somebody posts a clip, I'll watch Braxton Jones. I've seen one bad snap from him, from clips, from everything. Braxton Jones has looked good. He's looked solid. And that's where, too, let's see in the preseason game. That's why we love preseason. Also, Squeegee's saying that he likes, now that he's healthy, Roshan Johnson looks solid. I have heard they have Roshan Johnson has popped some people, the one-on-ones. Yeah. He's actually also, because we were born in Texas. We were born in Austin. I grew up a Texas Longhorn fan. I watched Roshan. Roshan, to me, though, is still kind of like right in the middle. Like, if I had to say stock down, like he's looked, I think the reason is like in my own expectations, because I wanted him to be the starter. And I don't really think that Roshan has a chance to get the starting job now. Because also, someone who has criminally not been talked about enough, Khalil Herbert has been smooth. He has looked good. He has looked smooth. Pass blocking, you still want to see it in live reps. That's the biggest question mark. And what's funny is Roshan Johnson has been the best pass blocking running back out there by far. By far, which applaud the rookie for that, man. Like, that's insane. But yeah, Khalil Herbert's looked good. Deonta Foreman got a stock up for me one time too. So yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else on the offense.
Honestly, it'd be kind of fun if Roshan Johnson, like near the end of, like, say if we're hopefully one of these times we can just finish out a game and honestly smoke a team, and then, you know, for running out clock, see if Roshan Johnson steps in there and, you know, runs the ball. But I think that'd be his first time really seeing the field this year if he was in a game. But yeah, I mean, there's not many like huge stock up guys still. I mean, it's like, yeah, Khalil Herbert, Cole Kmet is kind of like honorable mention, I think, of like the Bears really kind of fully put their trust in him after kind of that contract thing. It would have been kind of up in the air if they didn't sign a contract of like, do they not trust in him? But it seems like he's been balling out like he's Justin's tight end. Because, you know, nowadays a quarterback needs that tight end, especially after that Patrick Mahomes, you know, Travis Kelce mold. But yeah, besides that, like there's not, I don't have any more, I guess, like Darius Fountain kind of is a stock down in my book because I was hoping he would pop off.
That's true.
You know, that's just that's a personal stock down. That's not like a. I don't think anyone else was hyped up with him. Yeah.
That's how I felt with Roshan, where it's like it's not anything against him. It's just like I really, really, really wanted him to be the starter just because he's freaking Roshan Johnson. But yeah, it just doesn't look like it 100%. But yeah, so we can also take a let's answer a couple of the offensive questions right now too. We'll just kind of jump a little bit because I know that Patrick had one up top. Would you say the passing game comes from RPOs or are they more designed pass plays this year? That's a really good question, Patrick. I don't know. Do you have a take on this, PayPal? Otherwise, I can take it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brad.
So yeah, I'd say that is a really good question. Now I got to think about it because I think that the question is going to be more so, are they going to be running it a lot more? And are they going to keep that running aspect? I don't think that I haven't seen many plays of them doing more of those designed runs. I think that it was more of a gimmick where it's like, let's just put it into the best player on the field's hands and have him do it. I think for this year, the passing is going to really like, they'll still have RPOs, but I do think that, and RPOs, you know, is kind of like the parts, you know, partial stuff, but I don't think they're going to run like quarterback options as much as that they were truly doing like last season, because I think what they're going to try to do is now that they have a team around Fields, let's not get this guy injured. And remember, we saw this too with you know, the signing of Yannick, that it seems like the Bears are actually more competitive, which Ryan Poles did say part of the reason why he signed Yannick Ngakoue was he realized how good this defense could be. Because someone asked him about that, and he said, partially, we saw how good this defense could be because the secondary has been balling. But yeah, the only other question too, I know Philip was asking about, do we sign someone on the interior of the offensive line? And it's like we could, but I think it's hard when you start looking at the roster because you have Lucas
Yeah.
Patrick, where it feels like they like Lucas Patrick, regardless of like what we think. It sounds like they like him. Doug Kramer, like PayPal said, has been looking good. And then Alex Leatherwood, do the Bears want to eat his contract and then sign someone else in? Because Ja'Tyre Carter isn't bad, but remember, like what we said last show, he's Alex Bars to us. Like where as a starter, but as like a backup, don't mind him at all. So
Yeah, it's offensive line. I think it's that special position. I mean, we kind of saw it last year of like there could be a good offensive line, but they're the position group that they need to really have time together and have reps together to play as one and play well. So it's like I don't know if we can kind of say maybe there's a veteran that has played in a similar system, yeah, like but that could fit in, like, if we do need it, but I kinda like honestly, I like the idea of kinda keeping this group together and having our designated backups, like a Tyree Carter, and those type of guys that can fill in where they are needed, but
and
hopefully we don't have to deal with this. Hopefully, they're kinda resting the interior linemen, and hopefully they kinda get ready by week 1 because it doesn't seem like super serious injuries.
yeah, I think too, because Philip brought up Risner. Risner is good. I'm curious, like, if they don't believe that Nate Davis is going to be able to play or at all, right? Which he probably would be able to. I think that Risner and like Ben Jones, who has been the center for the Titans, I think they're probably looking maybe for starting jobs, right? Maybe when someone goes down, that's where I could see the Bears signing a veteran. Like for better or for worse, I think that that's ultimately what will happen. But great question. Let's go over to the defense. Let's talk about some defense, stock up, stock down too. I know Bears Junkie asked a little bit about Travis Bell, but PayPal, I'll let you start things off. Who's been your biggest, and also actually question too, just for everybody listening, just who is your defense stock up pick overall that's impressed you the most?
Yeah, it's crazy to say this because honestly, I thought he was already gonna be balling out, but honestly, Jaquan Brisker is kinda like
That's a
the
good one.
camp guy. I think he's kind of the camp hype guy on defense, like, you just hear so much about him, like, obviously, Eddie Jackson just hypes him up. I mean, Tremaine Edmonds, I go back to that of, like, Tremaine Edmonds, his interview, he just kept talking about Jaquan Brisker, like,
Yeah.
someone like that's such a leader that's been in this game for so like I don't want to say so long, but been around the game for a while. Like he just could not stop raving about him, and it's like he just has everything, and you really see like he had all the traits last year, but it's just kind of getting comfortable and like how most rookies are. They just have to get comfortable. They have to kind of the game has to slow down for him. And it's like now that the game is slow for him, like he just making plays. It just he's got the size to tackle, he's got the speed to, get interceptions and pursuit people down the field. It's like he's got everything. So it's like man,
I
I'm it like I already had a stop. I was already thinking highly of him, but it's like he just has that high of a jump for me where I'm like, he's gonna be something, Brad.
I know,
It's crazy.
yeah. I know we like talked about it too, where it's like Brisker could totally be that star. And that's like what I
Yeah.
believe is that he can be that star safety. And I think I made the declaration that he would be better than Eddie Jackson this year. I think I
Oh
said
yeah,
that
yeah.
because I believe in this guy so much. And yeah, he's been phenomenal. I got to go to the person that has this guy's just been insane. This guy's been incredible. This is someone that I want to see him covering, and let me see if I even do. I not have a stock up? I know that he's been my stock up before. Oh, there we go. He was number one for a reason on my list on the background. Kyler Gordon. Like,
Oh yeah.
Kyler Gordon has been insane. He's been phenomenal. He has been making plays. He's been all over the place. We already know he is great at stuffing the run, but he really has seemed to take this step up in coverage. I can't wait to see him out there. And the celebration is sick. Everything about what he's doing, that I think that that's one of the big reasons why Poles was impressed with this defense and realized how good that this defense could be. Because when you have
Yeah.
Kyler Gordon out there where, like we said it before, I remember saying he was the person I was most afraid of in this back seven, so to speak, with linebackers and secondary, not the rookies. I was more nervous about Kyler Gordon. He's been looking very good and put it together very well. So he's my number one on my list for sure.
I think it's those honestly are such a big two. And yeah, Kyler Gordon, I can't. It's one of those guys. I think I can't wait to like see like week one. He just seems like he's going to be a completely different player, like you're saying, just so explosive and everything. But I had one. Honestly, my kind of like surprise stock like up is Justin Jones is kind of my next one.
Oh,
like
really?
Not like it just sounds like he's like kind of the true leader of this defensive team in general. Like he's kind of the guy that seems like everyone's kind of leaning on around this defense and kind of just leading everyone. And he just kind of had an interview the other day of just it sounds like he's so confident now of having an Andrew Billings around him, like a DeMarcus Walker. And it's funny, he actually mentioned, he's like, yeah, we have all these great guys on the defensive line, DeMarcus Walker, Billings, Rasheem Green. Didn't say anything about Travis Gibson or Dominic Robinson. Just saying.
Yeah.
Really sad. But yeah, I mean, I really don't I don't think I didn't hear a bunch about him at camp. It's honestly me just hearing the stuff from the coaches of like and players of saying he's such a big leader and he just is teaching all these young players how to be professionals. And I don't know, I expect big things from him this year, and maybe that's kind of why I have him in the stock up, just because I expect him to be great this year.
I like it. And that I really like it too, because it's not a normal one. It's not the standard stock up people that like you're hearing about. Cause yeah, I remember like at camp, he is legit someone that stood out and stands out to me, because just his pure quickness, you really see how quick he really is when you see him going against all the other defensive tackles, like alongside all the defensive tackles for sure.
Yeah, when he's not getting double teamed and he actually has help around him, it's like, oh crap, when he's on one-on-one, he's a play. He's good.
Yeah, and so I got to think about mine. There's so many, and I think that this is, we're recapping the past 2 weeks, right? And I think us having a lot to pick from shows how good that this defense has been. And I'm going to steal what Philip said in the comments. I'm going Gervon Dexter. Gervon Dexter he's turned heads. He's looked very good. Now, I'm going to sound like such a Debbie Downer with everything. But there are a lot of people that do say that today in Family Fest, that he did not show the best get off, which is the biggest question that we had, right? We know his unlimitless potential. And yeah, and I've said this before, with defensive tackles, we need to take some time. But man, he pops. And that's the beauty of this. He's going to be playing in a rotation. He doesn't have to be an every down guy. He could just simply be out there and like just have a small subset of snaps, give it his all, jump off the snap, and get that there. He's going to be making some splash plays. And the amount of times that people have praised Gervon Dexter, gone out of their way to give him praise, especially when you have Zach Pickens, who was selected like right after you, so to speak. Like, I think that really does say what people can see about Gervon Dexter. And another one of my favorite things about him too is that he gets to go against Tevin Jenkins. And the reason why that's so important is Gervon Dexter wins with strength. And there is no one that I think is stronger than Gervon Dexter than Tevin Jenkins. And I think what this will force Gervon Dexter to do is learn how to win with speed, learn how to win with his hands. He has to learn with moves. It's a welcome to the NFL. And I think that will only make him better. The iron sharpens iron. I really like this because we could have easily said the guy looks slow. The guy's not moving. But he has these bursts. He has these great things. The burst isn't fully there, like as we said, but it's still like he has these spots where he just pops, which is really good because we know about the potential.
Yeah, it sounds like he still wins reps, and even if his pad levels are high, like he's got to keep it a little low, and then that's kind of his secret of becoming a great, like one of the greats, is if he just kind of keeps his pad level low and kind of uses his full strength. But yeah, Brett, this guy, I kind of say like I'm not surprised he's doing well because it was one of those guys I really liked his tape when we drafted him. Maybe you already know, maybe you're already gonna switch to his thing, but
yeah, I already have it preloaded. You can say
Terrell Smith. I love Terrell Smith.
I put Tyreek Stevenson.
I do like Tyreek Stevenson too. Terrell Smith, both those guys I love.
I got cocky.
I think I just love cornerbacks. Maybe that's my thing. But Terrell Smith, like first of all, I'm surprised he's not like at safety already. I thought he was gonna get moved to safety for sure. But yeah, just like I don't even know how to say that guy's name. I don't want to botch it. Squeegee, sorry. Like he's just been making plays like ever since the first day of camp. I mean, he was the first person to get an interception, I believe. And it sounds like from a 5th round pick, like he's just been kind of balling out. Like I knew coming out, this guy, he's a smart player. And that's just kind of he just fits super well in this scheme because he's kind of he sits back, he's a good zone corner and can kind of just read the offense and where everyone's kind of going. So I guess I'm surprised how well he's doing. It's definitely a stock up, but also like his tape and kind of the scheme fit is perfect. And that's probably why he's succeeding so well.
Well, you also asked, you said, why is he not, like you're surprised that he's not playing safety? Well, because he's doing great at corner, right? Like he's doing very solid. It is exciting because do you pass on Jalen Johnson? It's a very hot-headed take, but it's something that Ryan Poles can ask that question in his head and say, Terrell Smith has been playing well. And we said this when we drafted him. You're going to know very quickly if Terrell Smith is that one phenomenal year that he played in Minnesota where he can play the run, he can play the pass, or if that was just a fluke, he was just older than everybody else and he dominated, right? It looks more so that that's the real person. Something clicked and he's playing well and he's showing that he can contribute. So does that mean that he's going to be gone, right? Does that mean that, or Kendall Vildor is going to be gone because Terrell Smith is kind of taking that backup job? And then, we'll talk about it with the preseason preview, talking about Jalen Jones and everybody like that. But yeah, I'll just kind of fly through a couple others just because we've gone through 5. Some other honorable, like just from the secondary, Eddie Jackson has looked good, even though that he was trying to fight Chase Claypool, which we could talk about later on. But Jalen Johnson has also impressed. Like really just this defense has impressed secondary. As a whole. Yeah, the secondary. And then the defensive line, we've talked about it too. Zach Pickens has shown some solid burst. But no one's really, I'd say, popped. Terrell Lewis. How could I forget? Terrell Lewis has shown more of those pops on the defensive end spot. Walker has made a couple plays. The defensive line just seems to be, especially the interior, has been pretty well altogether. But let's talk about stock down. Let's be pessimistic. The only thing that I can think of is just the injuries from the linebacker position, because Tremaine Edmonds is on that. Sanborn is on that. It was a position that we were super excited about. And now we have two elite linebackers on the injury report now with Sanborn and Edmonds. And I think that's it's the same thing. To me, it's like, what am I down on? It's the injuries again.
Yeah, and honestly, with the linebackers, I think specifically, like, Noah Sewell is kind of someone I was hoping to be like, oh my gosh, he's making all these plays. He's looking super fast. But yeah, he hasn't had that like pop yet, or he hasn't really made a play yet or made a name for himself. So that's something I'm kind of like disappointed in. I was hoping to see
Yeah.
more things. Because he's one of those guys. He looked great when we picked him. He seems like he has a great head on his shoulder, high energy guy. And two with that, I guess I'm kind of down on Josh Blackwell, Brad.
Really?
I
No.
was
How dare
like,
you?
as in like, I thought I would be hearing more
Oh,
about him of being like
yeah.
he's balling out because like after last year, it was like we were all just I
Yeah.
think we were both like Josh Blackwell podcast for sure. Like we love him, and it was like I was hoping to hear just more about him kind of balling out, especially if he's playing with like the second team or the third team or whoever he's playing with, like that he's kind of almost ready, so to speak, if he was like the starter.
Yeah.
But I guess that it's kind of a nitpicky stock down. I mean, I still think he's good. It's just I was hoping I had high hopes for him.
Yeah, and yeah, I agree with you there. And the defensive ends, yeah, for sure. Travis Gibson, Dominic Robinson, just expected that step.
Oh
Oh,
gosh,
and also
yeah.
another person with stock up, right? And I don't like. I could totally put a video and just have DeAnthony Jones on it and be like, "This guy is the greatest." DeAnthony Jones has impressed. Like I've mentioned it before, he impressed in the sense that he should be able to make the practice squad. And
Mhm.
I think that he's going to have some fun I think he's going to get a couple sacks in the preseason. I think he's a fun player to watch. He's the rookie out of Houston, the undrafted player, and he's got that tweener size, but he's been solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, Patrick agreed too. Yeah, Dom
Oh
Rob,
god.
yeah. Like
Yeah, Dom Rob and Travis Gibson. Yeah.
it's
It's sad.
disappointing. Yeah. Like
It
it
really
really
is.
is sad. But yeah, so let's see too. We can go through some questions. Anything else?
Yeah. Yeah,
Got
I have a couple. I have actually. I guess these were kind of honorable mentions for the two positives. I had Elijah Hicks kind of on my list of like
oh yeah,
he really solidified that he is
that's a good one.
that backup spot. And then two, Greg Stroman. I think he's always kind of that guy.
Really?
It seems like he kind of impresses at camp, but then you kind of realize it's like, okay, he's a little older. Like, where does he really fit in? Um, and it's like I don't see him really in a roster spot, but it seems like whenever he does kind of play, he plays well. And I think it kind of happened in the first week of camp. Like he was kind of impressing people, but yeah. Besides that, I was hoping kind of a little more from Travis Bell, but it's kind of that seventh round. You can't have too high of expectations. Like he's just that big boy. He's just got to learn how to play in the big leagues now. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's about it.
I know. Alien Express and Bears Junkie were asking about that about Travis Bell, and I'll say this about Travis Bell, right? I remember looking at him. He's athletic, and I think that's the thing. He's built like a bowling ball. Like
Yeah.
he's very round, and it's crazy to see him move because he is very fast. He has good size and speed, or good speed. A little shorter, but just very densely built. That's where, to me, I want to see the preseason. I think he's someone in particular that, for me, it's preseason, but I was impressed with his athleticism. I see why Ryan Poles selected him, because he's got the potential. He definitely
Mhm.
has that ability to him. But yeah, the other thing too, because yeah, I'm just looking through to see if there's any other questions that we had out there. But PayPal, the Chase Claypool fight, I guess we haven't touched that. I guess what's your thought on it? Because for those that I'm assuming that everyone's probably heard something about it, but it was basically that Eddie Jackson, the ball was kind of going through the middle. Eddie Jackson hits Chase Claypool, and then a fight ensues. And then Ryan Poles even had to come down and break it up. I guess it was getting that heated. But I guess what's your take on it?
Yeah, I honestly I kind of have like the Alan Williams kind of like approach to it of like I love the competitiveness. I love when they compete. Like, it's what the defense has been doing this entire year. They've just been competing. They've been kind of jarring back and forth. Like, they're just creating that competitive atmosphere, you know? Um, and when you do that, obviously there's just times when it just gets kind of out of hand. As that, as Chase Claypool and Eddie Jackson, obviously that happened. Especially sounds like Chase Claypool is kind of that, like, he's such an emotional player
Yeah.
where he can like lose his temper. But also on the other end, he can do like angry runs. He won angry runs like last year, I remember. But like it's one of those things. Like, it's awesome they're competitive, but you just got to kind of keep it. I don't like when fights ensue because I think that kind of tarnishes a little bit of like the character of the team a little bit. I don't know if
Y-
that's too much, but it's like, you can't be doing that when, you don't want that happening when the season starts. But I love, love, love the competitiveness, which
Yeah.
it's awesome.
My thing about it is I think that Claypool did a couple disrespectful things. We covered it in one of our little short episodes that we've done where Chase Claypool blocks TJ Edwards, knocks him out of the play, and says, "Go to sleep." Right? Like does I think like a chop block, just like smacks him, like cuts back, smacks him, puts him down. Eddie Jackson's right there. Do I think it's a coincidence that one practice later he lights up Chase Claypool and then tries to fight Chase Claypool? I don't think
Yeah.
so. And also, supposedly, I think I heard that Chase Claypool stepped on Tyreek Stevenson's mouth guard and like stuff like that, where it's a little disrespectful. Like,
Yeah.
it's disrespectful. And I think that's where he's trying to look out for his own. So, but at the same time, too, Eddie Jackson, I know you're big, man. Chase Claypool, 6'4", like 240, man. Like that guy's big. That guy has got some reach.
That's
But
why we love Eddie Jackson, though, Brad. He backs down to no one.
yeah, for
He's
real.
he's a competitive, like, he knows
He's
what
a
he's
dog.
doing.
He's
Yeah,
a
he's a
dog.
dog. He's a dog.
Yeah,
He's a dog. He earns the title.
yeah, and Clay, yeah. So I think that's where it is, and yeah, I think ultimately, like they said it. I think it was either Chase or somebody just said, like, yeah. Afterwards, you just like you go back to the locker room, everything's cool, right? Like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
understand
exactly.
it. You understand that like you hate each other because you're just constantly going against that other person. I know that in like basketball, when you're constantly going against the same person, they're blocking you. You're like, I hate this guy. I hate going against this guy over and over and over again because they know everything that I'm doing and it's frustrating. So tempers are flaring. That's what happens in training camp. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe as we're on the quest to 4,000 because every subscriber is one extra passing yard for Justin Fields. And also make sure to enter our giveaway. Rate the show 5 stars out in Apple Podcasts. Leave a way for us to contact you, most likely a Twitter handle. Otherwise, listen and we will announce it once we get to 58 5-star reviews. We will then give away one Darnell Wright jersey. But PayPal, it's preseason time. Preseason is next.
Let's
We
go.
give one of the best I honestly think that we give the best preseason coverage. If you struggle to have fun watching preseason games, you have come to the right spot. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.